So I want to talk a little bit about the duality of JK Ultra. 12 on the clock as I say this. This is how God kind of does stuff in my life. He always is like guiding me, and sometimes I don't know like why or like what he's doing. Obviously, actually, most of the time I don't until like after the fact. And so I've been talking about how I was guided to take a break here. I deactivated my account for a couple days. And then I had all these like synchronicities happen within that time. And one of the things that I saw was a video by one of the creators that literally introduced me to the idea of this stuff. And like now I've become a psychic that channels with God. And now I've been told interdimensional beings that are just our higher selves, humans, which we call aliens. And that's been like a recent thing. I've been channeling with God the whole time. And like I use different terms and stuff for that energy. But I've always said my guides, but I genuinely didn't know who it was. And I thought it was like my angels, like my grandparents or something. Well, I knew it wasn't them also because I'm getting like information that's anyway. I didn't really like think too much about it. Now I'm thinking a lot about it. So anyway, back to JK Ultra. This has like really provoked something in me. I feel like this always happens. Like God, these like events happen, and then I always like come here to talk about it. Like the Charlie Kirk stuff really shook me, and the Taylor Swift stuff really shook me. And so I'll talk about certain things. And, of course I'm like, again, that's why I'm like, if you're into like pop culture and stuff and you're on a spiritual path, there's like a reason for that, because there's people out there who like need to hear what you have to say. So I love this girl named Chloe on here, and she will like talk about like shows that she watches and like her opinions on it and stuff like that. And I just like love watching those videos because then I get caught up on stuff that I don't watch, and then I kind of get her spin on it. So that's why I'm like, if you don't like, of course this is like me, I'm always gonna say it, but like make content about stuff, even if you think like that's what like, because I just feel like you will find people who will resonate with something that you have to say. I feel like everybody has something important to say, especially if you follow me. You have something important to say about something. And you might just not know it yet too. That's also like very fair. But I see a lot of people on here saying a lot of important stuff, and I'm like, this is vastly profound, especially within the people that I follow and who follow me. You are the people I'm actually most impressed by on this app. Genuinely, I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. God made smart people, and that's how I feel about JK Ultra. I feel like she does have a lot of really good, solid opinions about certain things. I feel like she led me down this path. She's very intelligent. She made a book that is excellent about propaganda of the Matrix. And then she does stuff like this where she just comes on and she completely dismisses people's entire realities, which is narcissistic, and it's very hurtful. And it's hard for me because, I talk about New Earth leaders, and again, I thought she, and she definitely has potential to be one. That's like not, she probably still is, even within this, is like what I'm saying. There's duality to people. But it's just, I'm warning people and showing people like what to be on the lookout for as far as like not falling back into oppression. Because that's what she's doing. She's leading people away from God, away from alignment with God, away from magic, away from, and like I talk about how believing in God is the magical part of being a human. And all this stuff, Starseeds, multiple gods, other religions do this. I was just actually just had a conversation with God the other day. He was talking to me about why he made me a Lutheran specifically, because he led me to a guy called St. John the Cross, which was around the time of Reformation. And if you don't know anything about Reformation, that's when Martin Luther and other, other scholars and monks and things at the time were going up against like the Roman Church for like certain things. And St. John the Cross talked about the dark night of the soul, which I feel like I've been going through, where your ego kind of, your identity really collapses and you start to go onto this new earth path, which is what JK Ultra let a lot of people down. And it strips away your identity, and it strips away your beliefs, and it strips away the fact that we thought this society was a different place than it actually is. And also, there's a little bit more to it. It's a lot more complicated, especially if you follow me and you've been listening to me. You obviously know it's a lot deeper than even I could have ever imagined. And then we have spiritual people with beautiful ideas and beautiful minds who just give into that programming again out of comfort or out of a trauma wound that hasn't been healed yet. And then they lead people back into trauma responses or wounded places. And we're trying to heal, and we're trying to like move past that. And I've learned that it's my pain that sets me apart from people. And for, obviously you guys have watched how I've struggled to kind of reconcile what to do with it, because I've had so much pain in my life. And, I've attempted to forgive people. I've cut people out. I've done all these things that I feel like have really helped me process my pain and my trauma, and also have a deeper understanding and depth for people. And I actually saw a creator on here today who was like, we need to stop like giving people like excuses for their behaviors. And it's like, it's not giving people excuses for their behaviors, it's seeking to understand. Because then what you do with that information is then you can change your perspective around how you interact with people. Because if you move from a space of understanding instead of anger or judgment, then it allows you to calm your nervous system and respond in an emotionally mature way that will then be effective for people to not get defensive when you're trying to help people change their behaviors. And that's actually what us neurodivergent people have become experts in, because we've had to read rooms our entire lives. We've had to maneuver our expectations around people as well, because we have this expectation that everybody has the same sense of justice or the same sense of deep like knowing of how this place should be. And then we're constantly surprised when people treat us in ways that don't line up with that. At least that's been my experience, and I think a lot of neurodivergent people's experiences. And so that's a Starseeds. It's not just neurodivergence, it's anybody who, has come up against ostracization for trying to stand up for the right things, or trying to protect yourself, or people have misunderstood you or misperceived you, or the pain of injustice also is a huge one for Starseeds. Anybody who feels the pain of injustice right now, any minority group, that's one of the biggest indicators that you are a starseed, a light worker, is that you have faced the pain of injustice down here, because that's the most separate you can get from God. That impacts your soul the most. At least that's what I would say. I think anybody who has experienced depression would say it's the injustice. It's like this not being listened to, this not being heard, like people literally knowing what's going on and then literally doing nothing about it. Obviously, Black people know this like more than anybody on this entire planet, but specifically in America. And that's what makes Black people in America special, because they have this different relationship to being enslaved than even white people. And that's like what we're realizing is like that. I mean, for me, it's been kind of like a hard realization of how I've been doing this for 30 years, but like these like Black people have been fucking dealing with this for 400 years. It's like, and they're still getting blamed, all these and you're just like, of course we understand why now, because 1221, as I say this, it's just the disconnection from God, but it's also the manipulation down here. And so that's where you hold duality. It is disconnection from God, but we also have to hold so many people accountable. And that's, again, why I'm such a proponent for aliens, because the scale and the level of justice that we deserve and that we need and that we are indicating we are going towards needs extraterrestrial, interdimensional intervention, in my humblest opinion, because I am, again, observing how even people in the spiritual community cannot cohere their beliefs. So if people in the spiritual community are scared and can't do it, can you imagine people who aren't, how they're going to be? And so they're going to need external people also. Our brains, God designed us that way. He keeps telling me. That's why believing in God is part of the human experience, but also believing in aliens is like this fun part of the human experience. It sounds crazy and nuts, but there's so much evidence now that it's true. So it's like, let's make it fun now. Let's make it magical now that we know it's coming for sure and we feel more comfortable with this, at least the people on this path.